She was left to die because her own heartbeat was just too loud for the Empire's comfort. But guess what? One human heard it, and he absolutely refused to let it stop. Let's be real, the universe is a vast, cold, and famously indifferent place, isn't it? Entire species step over one another, clawing for an extra breath of air on a slightly better rock. So when you hear about a lone human private, no fancy rank, no political pull, zero backup, who decides to guard an abandoned kid from a planet he can't even pronounce, well, the math just doesn't add up, does it? Yet, that's precisely what's happening in the story currently burning up HFY forums across the extranet. We're talking about a battle-scarred grunt nicknamed Relay who stakes absolutely everything on an alien child the rest of the galaxy had already written off as scrap. And by the end of it all, that single impossible decision rewrites border treaties, collapses a massive slave ring, and starkly reminds every species out there why humans are the friend you never want to lose, and the enemy you absolutely never want to make. So, stick around, because what starts as a desperate rescue quickly turns into a masterclass on why compassion isn't just a virtue. It's the deadliest weapon in space. Relay's dropship doesn't just land, it crashes on K-17, a mining moon so insignificant it barely rates a letter and a number. The impact? It wipes out his squad, shatters his comms, and leaves him with 3 mags, a couple of cracked ribs, and a busted translator. Not exactly ideal, right? While he's scavenging for oxygen filters, he catches a rhythmic clicking sound, almost too faint to hear, coming from under a pile of twisted scrap. He digs, expecting a faulty compressor or some kind of mechanical malfunction. Instead, he finds a kid. She's tiny, maybe 4 foot nothing, with striking cobalt skin, what looks like too many joints in each arm, and eyes like spilled oil, wide, dark, and full of raw terror. She's bleeding from the ears, a grim sign her own people silenced her vocal sac so she couldn't ping their echolocation network. In their culture, silence isn't just quiet. It is exile. Relay doesn't understand the custom, not really, but he sure as hell recognizes terror when it stares back at him. What does he do? He gives her water, wraps her in a thermal sheet, and for the first time in 46 hours, he says something that isn't a curse or a tactical call. I've got you. Keep breathing. She can't understand the words, of course, but her trembling, it slows. That's moment 1. Zero negotiation, zero calculation, just a human refusing to let another heartbeat flatline. It's a primal, unspoken promise in the face of utter desolation. Survival on K-17? It's measured in kilowatts and oxygen grams. Every single resource is precious. Relay, ever the resourceful human, rigs a solar still from cracked visors to collect water and feeds them both on algae paste scraped from pipe walls. It's not gourmet, but it keeps them going. Every sunrise, the temperature swings 90 degrees, hot enough to bake you. Every sunset, bandits sweep the wreckage, looking for anything they can salvage. They're dangerous, and Relay knows it. The kid, he nicknames her Click for her unique way of communicating, learns quickly. She learns to mimic his footsteps so meticulously that the ground only registers one set of prints, making them harder to track. She also learns the steady rhythm of his pulse at rest. 64 beats per minute, as constant and reassuring as a lighthouse in a storm. In turn, Relay starts to decipher her clicking vocabulary. 2 quick taps means danger, 3 slow ones mean they're safe, at least for now. By the 4th week, they've built a pigeon of taps, gestures, and shared silence that speaks volumes. One night, a slaver drone hovers overhead, its sensors sweeping. Relay has 1 round left in his sidearm. Without a word, Click places her smallest finger on the trigger guard alongside his, a silent, powerful gesture of shared resolve. Together they fire. The shot shears the rotor. The drone crashes in a fiery heap. That shared recoil, that sudden jolt of simultaneous action, that's their first handshake, their first unbreakable promise. No one gets left behind, ever. It's a bond forged in fire and desperation. Now let's talk about HFY Stories. That's short for Humanity Futs, yeah, because they really flip the usual sci-fi script on its head. Instead of humans being the newest, softest, or most naive species in the galaxy, we're presented as these scrappy underdogs who just flat out refuse to quit. And Relay? He absolutely embodies this trope. He isn't some decorated captain, some chosen one with a destiny. He's just baseline stubbornness wrapped in scar tissue and a will of iron. When Imperial databanks later catalog the events on K-17, they're cold. Calculating analysts list Click as a non-viable asset, basically worthless. And Relay? He's a Class 3 primate expendable. But together, they prove both of those labels spectacularly wrong. The HFY crowd, they just love this dynamic because it spotlights two uniquely human superpowers, our incredible adaptability and our unwavering empathy. Other species might have better tech, longer lifespans, or denser bones, sure. But humans? We rewrite the rules mid-mission, and we adopt strangers into our clan without a second thought. Relay doesn't need a Senate hearing or an economic impact report to decide Click's life matters. He just needs to hear a heartbeat and draw a moral line in the regolith. Honestly, that's the entire genre distilled into one breath. It's about that innate human capacity to care, to protect, and to fight for what's right, even when it makes no logical sense. Of course, you can't keep a good explosion quiet forever. Salvage crews eventually notice the downed drones, and soon enough, a 4-ship convoy lands on K-17, bristling with plasma cutters and corporate warrants. They're not here to make friends. Relay's translator is still broken, so he can't bribe, barter, or bluff his way out of this. So, what does he do? He does what humans do best. He improvises. Using the drone's own battery core, he rigs a directional mine, a nasty little surprise. But there's a catch. The trigger requires 2 simultaneous circuits. One hand just isn't enough to complete it. Click, without hesitation, volunteers. Relay hesitates for a split second. She's maybe 10 in human years, a child. But she solves the debate for him by biting his sleeve, hard, a sharp, clear reminder that survival, true survival, is communal or nothing at all. They arm the trap, then hide together under a lead plate and wait, hearts pounding. The explosion is deafening, shredding 2 of the ships and fracturing an entire ridge of rock. In the aftermath, Relay expects nightmares to haunt him. Instead, Click curls against his armor and sleeps for 12 straight hours, the first real deep rest she's had since her exile. And that's when Relay realizes something profound. Protection isn't a one-way street. While he's guarding her life, she's in her own way, guarding his humanity. Their bond has become a shield for them both. You know how quickly things spread these days? Well, footage of that ridge explosion, just a 7-second clip, a plasma bloom, 2 tiny silhouetted figures, and then a small alien raising a human helmet in triumph. It leaks onto the extranet, and it goes absolutely viral. Hashtags mutate faster than radiation. Sound of own heartbeat, Click and Relay, human magnet. The Imperial board that ordered Click's silence suddenly finds itself facing a massive public backlash. Let's be honest, shareholders hate bad optics even more than they hate war crimes. So what's their solution? They dispatch a peacekeeping fleet to sanitize the moon, which is just corporate speak for erase all the evidence. Relay intercepts the chatter on a comm unit he's finally managed to repair. And now, he's facing a terrifying math problem, 1 sidearm, 1 child, against a light cruiser. He calculates the impossible odds, then grins. The kind of wild, defiant grin only a human would manage in such a situation. Then he sends a ping to the loudest, most reckless species in the galaxy, the ones who always answer, humans. Within hours, a scrap fleet of independent human traders, smugglers, and free riders answers his call. Their message? Short, sweet, and to the point. Hold tight, cousin. Cavalry's en route. The universe that once ignored a single alien kid now watches, absolutely captivated, as humanity goes all in on a promise made in rubble. The battle above K-17 is a brutal, chaotic affair. It lasts 19 minutes and costs the scrap fleet 3 cargo hulls, but they get the job done. They knock out the cruiser's shields with mining charges retrofitted as torpedoes, classic human ingenuity. On the surface, Relay and Click feel the sky burn, the concussions rattling their bones, but they stay put. Sometimes the best contribution you can make is simply staying alive to testify. When the smoke clears, the Imperial warrant against Click is rescinded, thanks to immense pressure from multiple trade unions who suddenly see the value in public opinion. Click's own people, Now acutely aware she's worth public relations gold, petition for her return. Relay, he's offered a medal and a pension for his service. But here's the kicker, the moment that truly defines him. He refuses both. He won't accept anything until Click gets citizenship in any system she chooses, and reparations for every exile her species has ever faced. The negotiators balk, of course. Who is this human to demand so much? Relay simply tightens his grip on Click's hand, his gaze unwavering, and reminds them, she's not your photo op, she's my family. That single, powerful declaration, that unwavering loyalty, shifts the debate. The clause passes by one vote. And just like that, humanity's reputation across the stars shifts from an annoying wild card to the species that will bankrupt a market before it breaks a promise to a kid. So, what happens next for our unlikely duo? Click chooses to travel with Relay, now officially her adoptive guardian. Their bond, forged in fire and shared silence, evolves into a true partnership. They haul freight on the very same scrap fleet that saved them, proving that protection can grow into something far greater. Relay, the grizzled soldier, teaches her zero-G tag, a surprisingly joyful game in the void. And in turn, she teaches him to hear subsonic harmonics, a kind of sonar with soul, opening his senses to a new layer of the universe. Their ship, newly christened Second Heartbeat, becomes a neutral ground. A beacon where ex-slavers, refugees, and even runaway royals negotiate treaties over shared meals, finding common ground in the most uncommon of places. Analysts across the galaxy eventually credit the duo with a staggering 12% drop in interstellar abductions, not because they weaponized compassion in some grand strategic way, but because they simply made compassion look deadlier, more formidable than any dreadnought. Now, in bar fights across the spiral arm, you'll hear mercs warn each other, don't prey on kids. Humans have this thing about heartbeats. It's a legend, a warning, and a testament to the quiet power of a promise kept. If this story hit you in the chest, if it resonated deep down, then please tap that like button. It tells the algorithm we want more tales where decency wins, where humanity shines brightest. Drop a comment below naming the sci-fi bond that absolutely wrecked you emotionally, the one that stuck with you long after the credits rolled. And hey, while you're at it, subscribe for more HFY deep dives every single week. Relay and Click proved that one human plus one discarded life can flip an empire. Imagine what 1 million views could do for storytellers still fighting to be heard. So the next time someone claims the universe is too vast, too indifferent, for one person to truly matter, remember this story. Remember a busted translator, a cracked oxygen filter, and a promise whispered under a collapsing moon. Remember that humanity's most dangerous technology isn't some super-powered railgun or a planet-killing dreadnought. It's that profound, unwavering moment when we decide a stranger's heartbeat is worth our last bullet. Relay didn't set out to be a hero. He just refused to let the galaxy mute one small, vulnerable voice. And Click? She didn't explicitly ask to be saved. She asked, through her very existence, to be heard, and in that asking, she helped rewrite interstellar law. Together, they proved that abandonment only works if everyone agrees to walk away. Humans, it seems, never got that memo, and because of that, a soldier and an alien girl turned a forgotten moon into ground zero for compassion across the stars. Keep that in mind when the news feels cold and the galaxy seems bleak. Somewhere, right now, a human is listening for the next faint click under the rubble,